2009 began with a sinking global economy paralyzed by a worldwide credit crunch, bank failures, and investor panic from Wall Street to Tokyo. Major industries and credit markets needed cash infusions, and central banks and governments scrambled to provide it. Days before becoming U.S. president, Barack Obama warned of the economic perils ahead.
In short, a bad situation could become dramatically worse.
The global economy is expected to show a slight drop in output in 2009, following 5% expansion in 2007 and 3% in 2008. Unemployment hit above 10% in the United States, 9% in Europe and Brazil, and nearly 6% in Japan. But U.S. Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner says a turnaround is underway.
The U.S. economy and the global economy are now growing again. Businesses are just starting to invest again. Consumers are now spending. Business and consumer confidence has improved. Global trade is now expanding at an encouraging pace.
Financial analysts warn that perils remain and financial reforms are needed. Economist Mark Zandi.
Policymakers have done a lot of good work stabilizing the financial system, but they've not changed anything fundamentally. And until they do, the risk of another financial panic in our future is still very high.
Policymakers also must decide when to wind down unprecedented levels of government support that could lead to inflation. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Igor Shuvalov.
I think that this year it would be more about how to live after the crisis, what to do with exit policies, and whether all of us carry on with fiscal stimulus or when we exit and on what conditions.
The global economic downturn struck advanced industrialized nations particularly hard, but allowed rising economic powers like China and India to shine, says World Bank President Robert Zoellick.
India is now a rising economic power that handled the recent economic crisis very well. It's contributed to world economic stability and could become a pole of global economic growth over time.
In developing countries such as Kenya, the World Bank stresses the need to refocus attention on long-term problems. Obiageli Ezekwesili is the World Bank's vice president for Africa.
In terms of the competitiveness of the new global environment, Kenya would have absolutely no choice but to tackle the most important constraint to its development. It has been corruption.
Unlike in past recoveries, the United States is not expected to drive global economic growth. Again, World Bank President Robert Zoellick.
And in every past economic crisis, what you've had is the U.S. consumer and the purchasing start the ball rolling again. And that consumption then leads to increased business demand, investment in the business side. Most economists expect that's not going to be the case this time.
Instead of advanced industrialized nations leading the way, global growth will likely be powered by rapid expansion in countries like China and India, with contributions also coming from lesser developed nations. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.